Hey everybody, Tim Dwyer from South Australia back again, and I'm sorry it's been a few weeks since I've put something up, but here we go. And the people said, no implied consent, and then the tyranny stopped. That's about how it works, because you see, everything that goes on in law in this country is implied consent. It pretty much is. Councils, the lowest form of the low. Everything is implied consent. They're sticking cameras up all over the place, facial recognition, without asking the population, of course. And it's just implied consent. It is implied that you will agree by simply not disagreeing, right? So to stop this implied consent, we have to learn how to withdraw our consent. So I put together a little PowerPoint, and I am sorry about death by PowerPoint. But here we go. I'll get this up here, and golly, where am I? Got to get to the start of it. Okay. Now, where am I? Golly, they've changed all this on me. There it is. Why is it that we do not consent? You got to ask yourself the question, why are we wanting to withdraw our consent, and on what grounds? So I want you to look at this video, not for yourself. You know this stuff. I want you to look at this video and then share it with your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister, share it with your mates, copy down the URL, send it out as an email, because I want to help educate people as to what the heck is really going on. And I'm sure with your help, we can do this, right? So, and the people said no implied consent, and then the tyranny stopped. Now, what we have here is something that's really interesting. This is a government flowchart, and it says up here, the Australian government system, the head of state. Now, listen to this. The Governor-General, he or she, is chosen by the Prime Minister and is the Queen's representative in Australia. Well, what a crock that is. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. And then the Federal Parliament, and then the Houses of Representatives, and the courts and everything else are over here, right? Now, I want to show you something in a minute that you will understand for a start, that we do not have an Australian government system. We have a constitution, right? The Australian government, the constitution, is the supreme law in Australia. From the constitution, the legislative power comes, the executive power comes from the constitution, and the judicial power comes from the constitution. Now, the Governor-General must be appointed by the monarch, not the Prime Minister, if we were operating under the legitimate, de jure, lawful constitution. Clearly, when we see this, we are not. They have told us they are not operating under our constitution. So let's have a look. What is the Australian government system? There is no reference to the Constitution. The Governor-General is to be appointed by the monarch. Now, in this system here, what we find is this is what they want people to consent to. They want people to consent to it. Why? Because it suits them and benefits them, not you, the people. Chapter 12 of the Constitution, it says, an act to constitute the Commonwealth of Australia, 9th of July, 1900, right? Sorry, there it is. Whereas the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, and I've said before, Western Australia came on just after, humbly relying on the blessings of Almighty God, have agreed to unite, we agreed, we came together, we agreed to unite in one indissoluble, that means cannot be dissolved, cannot be destroyed, cannot be overridden, one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and under the Constitution hereby established. Now, under the Constitution hereby established, and this is me, I've written this in here, and no other. We have not agreed to come under any other form of constitution. Period. End of story. If they tell you you have, it's a lie. It's deception. It's fraud. The Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, Section 5, operation of the Constitution and laws. All laws made by the Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution, that is the 1900 in the UK, 1901 here, Constitution, shall be binding on the courts, judges, and the people of every state and every part of the Commonwealth, notwithstanding anything in the state of the laws of the state. Let's have a look at binding. What is a binding contract? A binding contract is written agreement between two or more parties, and if one party tries to negate on its promise as set forth in the contract, a court may impose penalties. And we're going to come to this in a little bit. Under the federal or state law, binding agreements are enforceable. Under contract law, they are legally binding. And in most cases, the following factors must be met for an agreement to be binding. An offer and acceptance. Okay, did we have an offer and acceptance? Yes. Bill Smith put his hand up to run for Parliament. We voted for Bill Smith. He made the offer. We had the acceptance. We accepted Bill Smith. And it must be in clear, unambiguous terms. One party makes the offer and the other party accepts. When we voted Bill Smith into the politics, into the Parliament, we accepted Bill Smith. An exchange of considerations. Parties exchange something of value called consideration. Otherwise, a one-sided exchange may simply become a considered gift. The consideration is this. Bill Smith said, he will do this, 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 and this for you and I. And we agreed that Bill Smith could be paid X amount of dollars whilst he was in Parliament for performing his duties that he promised. Now, if he does not perform those duties as promised and still takes the money, Bill Smith got a gift. And a written form. Some agreements must be written. You will see as I go forward in here that there is a written agreement for everybody in Parliament. There's a couple of them, in fact. A constitution is a charter of government. It is a deed of trust. It's a written document. It's a stated trust containing covenants between the sovereign community and its individual units. The sovereign community. Now, Mr. Plotigus and the state and federal governments and the supposed federal police are all running around about sovereign citizens. Well, I'm sorry, our Constitution calls us sovereign individuals. Those covenants should not be lightly or inconsiderately altered. This is taken out of Section 128. And when the Constitution was written, it was not to be altered inconsiderately, as we see elbow sleazy now wanting to. We already have one referendum to allow all Aboriginals and the original people and native people of this land involved in our Constitution. We had a referendum for that. Now they want to have a referendum to separate them again, not include them. Oh, it beats the hell out of me. But anyway, here we go. Now, for our Constitution to be worth anything, it must be held sacred. It's not a document to be willy-nilly and slashed around and stuffed around with by scum, by legal scum, by globalists who don't like the power and the strength it gives you and I. Scum like Whitlam and Hawke. Those scum, they were the filth on the bottom of the shit pond. The Constitution must be rigidly observed in all of its provisions. If it's not, then we have nothing. If we do not hold those in government accountable, then our Constitution and all its provisions are worthless to us. But it's up to you and I to hold them accountable. Why is it that we do not consent? Well, let me go forward. Our state election here in South Australia will be the same in every state. The Electoral Commission, this is Corinne's, Katerina Maria Dwyer, all capitals. That is an incorporated body. That is a legal fiction, not an elector of parliaments. When you vote with that on the electoral roll, on your name in capitals, or even if it's only your surname in capitals, it's like you're asking a company, a corporation, to cast a vote. This is not a natural man or woman. Here's mine from, I just did this morning with the Electoral Commission. I did a search, and here I am, Timothy Joseph Dwyer, right? Now, that is not me. That is an incorporated body. That is a legal fiction. It's created only at law. And a fiction, a legal fiction, cannot cast a ballot, cannot cast a vote. Why? It cannot think for itself. It has no capacity of power or choice, and it has no conscience. Anybody voting under those conditions has created a joinder, and you want to look that word up, between the incorporated you and the government. I tell you, these people are slipperier than a bucket full of bloody eels. Here's how it should look. Now, I don't know why the first one here, Abbott, is in all capitals, but this is the electoral roll, a roll of electors who vote at Perth, right? Abraham, Samuel Abrahams. Look at his name. Lowercase, lowercase. Adams, lowercase. Barney, lowercase. That's what it should look like, because this represents the natural man or woman who has the capacity to cast a ballot. Not this shit. This is why we do not give consent, because nothing they have done is in line with being lawful. It is all trickery and deceit. That's why we do not consent. Now, just let you know, we're getting shirts made up with this on it. We're getting car stickers, window stickers made up with this on it. And I think we might create a little bit of a storm as we withdraw our consent, just to let you know that the withdrawal of consent for the local government associations did a absolutely astounding job. It really wound them up. But anyway, there's more coming. We've now got the letter ready to go for the notice to the CEOs of the councils. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, that'll put a rat amongst them, I tell you. Now, have a look at this. Right? Let me just move something around here. The Australian Constitution requires that those elected to the Senate and the House of Representatives swear or solemnly affirm their allegiance to the Crown. Senators and members require, senators and members are required to both make and subscribe. That means sign a copy of what they have said, an oath or affirmation. That same oath and affirmation has been used since Federation and can only be changed by a constitutional referendum. We have had no referendum to be able to change the oath or the affirmation of office. Section 42 of the Constitution says, every senator and every member of the House of Representatives shall, before taking his seat, make and subscribe before the Governor-General or some person authorised by him an oath or affirmation of allegiance in the form set forth in the schedule to the Constitution. Point 38. The schedule to the Constitution containing the wording of the oaths and affirmation. Oath. Now, I've been through this before. You've seen it before, but repetition is the mother of all great learning. Look, I, Anthony Elbow Sleazy, do swear that I will be faithfully and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen Victoria. Now, that would have been Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God. Now, Sleazy wouldn't swear an oath because he's got no representative of God. So the affirmation is, I would have been I, elbow sleazy, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So the name of the king or the queen can be changed. So let's have a look at this. This is what was said, right? What is being falsely called our Prime Minister. I, Anthony Norman Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will well and truly serve the Commonwealth of Australia, her lands, her people, and the office of Prime Minister. I will solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors. Nothing close. No, not even close. This affirmation, this means that this man is impersonating a Commonwealth official along with every other sitting member in the House, upper and lower. Look at this. I love this. This is what we're working on, peoples. This is what we're working on. Section 148.1 of the Criminal Code Act of 1995 of the Commonwealth, impersonating a Commonwealth public official. 2A, for the purposes of subsection 2, it is immaterial whether the capacity as a Commonwealth public official exists or is fictitious. A person other than a Commonwealth public official is guilty of an offence if that person, elbow sleazy, and every other politician, impersonates another person in that person's capacity as a Commonwealth public official, or falsely represents himself or herself to be a Commonwealth public official in a particular capacity, and the first mentioned person does so with the intent of obtaining a gain or causing a loss or influencing the exercise of a public duty or function, and if subparagraph A.1 applies, the first mentioned person also does so with intent to deceive. Penalty, 5 years imprisonment. Why do you think we want to withdraw our consent? Because they are lying to us. They do not sit in a lawful office. They do not have lawful capacity. It is now time for everyone in Australia, every man and woman, to go to your Commonwealth politician's office and your states, to that matter, and demand to see the oath of affirmation that they signed. If it is not this oath, the one we went through before, then they have no authority. And you can demand that they resign right now. They are impersonating a Commonwealth official. This is why we withdraw our consent. We do not give you consent to rule over us. They are a fraud. Now, what a fraud is a deception practiced in order to induce another to give up your possessions of property or surrender your rights. That's exactly what they're doing to you. It is a piece of trickery, a trick. One that defrauds is a cheat. These are the people who sit in an office and demand to be called the honourables. Listen to this. Now, this guy here, right? Sir Harry Talbot Gibbs. He was appointed to the Chief Justice of the High Court of Australia, the second Queenslander to be appointed to the distinguished position. In relation to the Australia Act of 1986, the Governor-General's letters patent is a comedy of errors. We are greeted in the name of the Queen of Australia, who suddenly becomes the Queen of the United Kingdom in the next paragraph. Therefore, I have come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and its states and territories has no basis at law. This isn't Tim's rough idea or theory of the week. This is a High Court Supreme Justice who knows a bit more about the law than Elbow Sleazy and you and me. Now, this is his advice, and he's talking to the judges now. He's talking to other High Court judges and judges in the federal court. My advice is to adjourn any case, sine die, That challenges the authority of the letters patent. Under no circumstances hear a case that challenges the validity of a state or a federal constitution. It is the politicians who are using us as pawns without them having to face the music. These matters are of concern to the politicians. Let them sort out these problems and accept any inherent risks themselves. This is why we have trouble in the courts. They know what's going on, but they want the politicians to suffer the wrath, not them. This is why we do not consent. We do not give the government agency or person, man or woman, including but not limited to both the upper and lower houses, the entire judiciary, the police, any consent, because they are a fraud. They are lying, they are dishonest, they are deceitful, they are untrustworthy, they are thieves, and they are all in treason, and they know it. They know it. And the people said no implied consent, and then the tyranny stopped. It's up to you people. Put your hand up and say no. Show me your papers. Show me the evidence that you are lawful in what you are trying to get me to comply with. Show me the evidence you have the right to sit in this office. Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence that you are lawful and have capacity. And if you do not have that capacity, then piss off. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I are the authority. You and I are the quasi-sovereigns of this land. And if we do not pull our servants into line, then it's our fault. You and I have the responsibility of this. I'm doing as much as I can, but I'm only one. I need you, the other one, the next one, the next one, the next one, to pass this on. Share this video. Please get this information out there. I know we're being swamped with this stuff, but we have a process here where we have sent a letter to the local government associations. We're now sending another document to the CEOs of every council in Australia, and they will get thousands of these letters. Then we send a very similar letter to the mayors. Then we send the same, a very different letter, to the local government ministers in state parliaments. And then we pull the trigger on the trap, because their responses, these documents are designed to put them in a trap. When we trap them, we will pull the local government association and every council down and out. The state government will then have to fold up too, because they will be incriminated by the actions of the councils. Plus, now we go to the top with the withdrawal of consent. We have one last document to go out there, which I'm not going to talk about here, but it will be circulated to some very, very, very high profile people. Again, by the thousands, and I need thousands and thousands and thousands of us to come and play this game, because we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim Dwyer. I do love this country.